Ciao, wonderful humans, and welcome to Board Game Dads, the designer debut show. And I'm extremely excited to have not one, but two special guests on this episode. It's our first designer duo on the show, and more special than that, they are coming to us live all the way from Rome, Italy. We have Giacomo Cimini and Sonia Goncalves. Yes, I was practicing my
Perfect.
pronunciation.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the both of you, and thank you so much for taking some time to chat with little old me. I appreciate it very much.
Hello. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. So, their game, their studio rather, together is Lyrius Games, which I do want to ask you about the name in a minute. But before that, I want to make sure everyone is aware that the game we're talking about today is called Age of Comics: The Golden Years. Now, this was recently kickstarted, that finished up a couple weeks back, but there are still late pledges available. Is that correct?
Correct. We're gonna open the late pledge soon. We're just dealing with the bureaucracy of closing a campaign and opening essentially a new one.
Sure.
But yes, there will be a late pledge. It's gonna be a couple dollars, probably more expensive.
Right.
But aside from that, there's gonna be the same kind of offer. So we have a lot of inquire from people asking, and yes, of course, whoever purchase any of the offer in the Kickstarter is gonna have the same benefit of being a Kickstarter backer.
I see. So you would get all the same stuff. It would not be until a later date at a retail version that you might get some different items.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't at the moment. We are still thinking in terms of strategy because we are effectively also the publisher, and
Right.
we are sort of at the stage acting as one. So we are trying right now. The chances to get the games is Kickstarter and GameFound. We don't have any.
For the late pledges.
Yeah, for the late pledge, we don't have any retail partnership deal in place, so we don't know.
Well, I think you will at some point. I mean, I got to say, this is a pretty exciting looking game, and I want to get into the development of that with you a little bit. But I have to know about the Lyrius Games name first. I need to know where that came from.
Well,
it was we could say it was a secret. No, I mean it was just we like the sounds. It sounds like a sort of both like a constellation, and the fact you put the V in front of it make it Delirious Games. It's a combination. We are not into zodiac science astrology at all. But by coincidence, I'm an Aquarius ascending Libra, and she's a Libra ascending Aquarius, and then
you mix Libra and Aquarius, and
yeah, it's a combination of things. We like the sound of it. It looks
like a long list of names that we checked, and everything else was taken, and it was like, okay, let's think another one. Yeah. So it was, and this hasn't been taken because this is a word that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's a word in other mother language, but it's we like the sounds, and the way you looked and say, let's go with it, and this astrological thing bring us some luck in being a couple. So maybe as a couple this thing, but yeah, it's a bit it's a
star-crossed lovers like Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly.
So on that topic,
I hope we don't do the same.
Yes,
I don't. I hope
no, you make your own ending with this one. But how did you two come to meet? How did the relationship start?
We met in London.
Oh, we met. I don't know how many years ago.
It was 2000.
15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
We were living in London, so UK.
Yeah, in the same university. Yeah, all of residence. Yeah, dorm in the same dorm, and it was one floor above, literally above her.
And then we're from very different fields. It was at the time studying filmmaking. I was studying economics, and basically our fields remain those for until now. And so coming from very different industries and backgrounds, and And after we met, I don't know, a few years after, 5 years, maybe we got married.
Yeah.
And we had our children. This all in London.
All in London. And then just before the COVID, we moved to Italy.
We came to, I'm not Italian, I'm Portuguese.
Yeah, and I'm from Rome. So we moved to Rome, and then COVID hit, and then it's been really tough, both like professionally and psychologically. And but at the same time, during that time, our we were already like into board games, of course, and I was a board game player. We are into comics, and during the pandemics, seeing the huge amount of time that we had our hands, we start to look at like we really start thinking like why we don't develop our own games. It's like there's no game about the comic book industry, and we start to research into it, and there was not like there are some things that are related about comics, but nothing specific about the making, the publishing. And so we start to we.
But you were saying that during the pandemic, it turned out being actually a good time, not only because we were both at home, and so we could work on it more regularly, but because also we could go online and test the game with big names of the Italian industry. They were all online because they couldn't meet physically, and so by coincidence, almost after a few months playing online,
being literally ripped to pieces while I was introducing my prototype.
Super long versions of the game and over complicated among 4 people that played the first versions. But
it was dreadful. And then after a while, like the same people start like reacting positive, say, oh, there's something here. And so we continue playtesting. We open it to international playtesters, like Break My Game, and Protospiel was really important in the development phase of the game. Basically readjusting it after like a few comments, and that has been absolutely a precious phase of the development. So it was like me like a night playtesting and then reporting it to Sonia in the early morning. I was like oversleeping, and then and then we will start working on the different iteration of the game, and then going back to the night like a replay testing. We have we made great friends also. That's the fantastic thing, that one of the very few perks of like the pandemic, we managed to make good friends online.
That now became friends in real life.
Now we became friends in real life, and that's like so it's been really a series of coincidences. And then I had like I start from the passion for comics. I attended comic book school when I was a teenager. I know people from the industry. We have our best friend. He works as an editor in a publishing company here, so he had the network to get in contact with the terrific artists such as Laura. Laura Guglielmo is the person that made all the drawing of the cards, and
all the art.
Or the artwork of the game, and she's absolutely terrific. And so we just start putting the pieces together, and what essentially happened in the last 2 years, we study really a lot the market, the game design, and we come from academia. We try to have a sort of like an academic approach to it. So reading books and studying online resources, gamification projects, for participating to mentorship. There's a great mentorship for like a game designer that runs online, that puts you in contact with like other publisher. We try to get any kind of opportunity, and again we continue to really study. We did our game, we did the marketing ourselves, we did basically everything. We put together the graphics of the website, and we worked on of course like the logistic and the fulfillment.
It's probably not the most efficient because we spend a lot of time, probably moving forward we'd like probably if we would delegate
more.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's a learning experience, right?
It's a learning experience.
When you take on, like you said, every aspect of the development, you're going to learn a lot, obviously. And that's one of the great things that I'm hearing from a lot of folks, because on the series I try to focus on new designers who are new to this in general, because they are fresh in the process of making those mistakes, hitting those speed bumps, and learning from lessons and things like that. And it's funny that you mentioned COVID, because I think a lot of folks had a very similar experience, right? Where they had all of a sudden a lot of time on their hands, and you just start exploring a little bit. The new hobbies creep up, and you get a little bit of that creative bug going on. And to your point, it is amazing the support of the community that exists now. Like you said, especially online, you can get so much done. I want to talk a little bit about, you mentioned the playtesting part. What is, I would imagine that you have to have a pretty thick skin, so to speak, to hear feedback that might not always be so positive about something that you've created from the ground up, right? So can you talk a little bit about that emotional, was it a bit of a roller coaster at times? Was it like daunting? Did you almost maybe try to like give up at some point?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's really, the point is that what I learned is to in a way listen. The issue is that whatever feedback you get, and they might not be 100% right, or like they might go in a very different direction, but they have a point in the sense they are highlighting something. And then I think it was our choice. This is our daughter that was calling for us. It's our choice to understand. If the feedback, it's sort of like it's makes some sense. Sorry. And so yeah, it's like you just need to go with an open mind and understanding that the person is giving you his or her time and therefore you need to take on board their feedback. But again, you also need to be aware of not falling in the trap of constantly changing things.
Right.
Because someone mentioned that.
Yeah, if someone mentioned something, you don't know where, like, might be a bad day, might be maybe too benevolent, or maybe, there are many factors. Ultimately, it's like, is what kind of games you love and what kind of games you want to do. So we went in the first stage of like, it also, you end up in playing with very sort of like professional players. They might see things in a very specific way, but they might sometimes lose the prospect of the enjoyment of a game for someone that is not that much into game. And our skills at the beginning was, our sort of like target was always trying to create a complex game that could be played by non-professional players as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the way we try to work with the
professional, I mean people that are very into it.
Yeah, professional, like people that are like is really into
games.
So yeah, we want to say like, yeah, we want to bring in so like audience that loves comics, and like, how can we and so the thing that we find is working very strong on the theme, so that every action in the game in a way would be understandable at a basic a basic level. Right, so that say, but the game is built around 6 core actions, then like powers up and special sort of like powers, like reinforcing action. But the main thing was, sorry, this is like our daughter that is what she's asking. Otherwise, I'm gonna like speak with this, like we're gonna.
Does she want to say hello?
Stella, you want to say hello? We are like on YouTube. Okay.
She's hiding.
And
specific story that I'll come back in 2 minutes.
Sorry.
No problem.
And so I lost my train of thought.
Well, you sort of talk kind of about the mechanisms of the game, which I do want to get into. So, to your point, what you said before, there's certainly games out there. There's a lot of games out there that revolve around the characters from many, well-known and famous characters, especially with all the Marvel movies and things these days. It looks like any game gets a Marvel theme or a DC theme, just kind of slapped on it sometimes. And I think I've seen 1 or 2 games that are a little bit about collecting comics as like a hobby. But
Yes.
your game really takes a different approach on this, because essentially you're running your own publishing shop here, right? And it's a worker placement and management game where you're doing all aspects of this, from researching, from hiring people, writers and artists, and deciding what theme to do, and gaining fans and things like that. So it is a really in-depth, take on something. So yeah, I'm gonna just, while you're talking about the gameplay, I'm just gonna throw up a couple of photos here so people can kind of get an idea of what it is that we're looking at.
Yeah. So as I was saying before, like we focus on the main 6 actions are essentially the one that you need to make comic books. As you were like say brilliantly before, you need to find your creative team, you need to find the theme, you need to find the ideas, you need to publish your comic, print your comic book, and you need to sell it. So you need to send your agents on the, in this case is a stylized version of Manhattan. You need to sell your agents down the street of Manhattan and collecting orders. And then you have like, you on the chart that you see on the left, you have like your little comic, like mini version of your comic books competing for the first place. And competing for numbers of fans is the most important thing. So like we look at fans as the most important thing of the building of a comic book empire, so to speak. And that's what we wanted to really focus on. So yeah, the thing is that it's a very, especially the birth of like the comic book industry that we know right now was like, its golden age. It was in a very interesting period. And there are like I don't know, books such as Fantastic Adventure of Cavalier and Clay, or like when you go back and read the story, the history of like the big like M and the DC and so on. There was a sense of like adventure and pioneering, like in really advancing the way not just like comic book but culture was moving. And in fact, the success they have right now, I think it's like it was rooted in those time. And so now we love comics, and we try to get a game that could celebrate the people behind this incredible art form. And this is like some unsung heroes, some celebrated, but like overall it make you feel like you were there and printing those comics.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, for sure. And that's a really cool genre. And I'm sure there is a very, thick connection between board game fans and comic book fans, which is why there's so many, games that focus on those characters and those superheroes. So you were both comic fans from a young age, right?
Yes. Very young age.
And what were some of your favorite titles? What got you into it?
Well, I started with the classic from Disney when I was young, and I used to read also a lot from comics from Brazil. So probably an international audience won't recognize, but they were very big in Portugal. I was growing up at the time, so that was my first passion, and then
and with me, you started with Disney, then move into the superhero world, and it's just like my teenage years were just like a continuous discovery of wonders and amazing, like a true passion. And it's like choosing the titles or like a character is just like it's so difficult. But I remember like there are like specific moment in which like I was entering. I remember the moment in which I saw the cover of the Dark Knight Return. It's like and then like there was this massive edition that was sold in Italy. It was like really oversized. And the feeling and so like also the thing that comic books work on different level of like they can appear like very superficial, but then they, especially when I was growing up in the 80s and then in the 90s, like the dark age come through, and like comics and like dark problematic comic books. I went through like the birth of the Image comics. So I always been, and then like the and discovering comic books from the French market, and of course like Japanese market. It's like it's a worldwide phenomenon, and each it's every country has this chest of fantastic treasure. Right. And anyway, it's like it's the British writers like Alan Moore and Grant Morrison, and anyway, it's like it's a world of treats, and give me a lot of such a lot of joy.
Yeah, well,
I can a big fan. Yeah, you can see.
And I can see on both your faces. I mean, that's amazing. That's great.
No, yeah.
And then we met.
Yeah, no. In fact, after I was, I don't know, 14, 15 years old, I stopped reading comics, and I only rediscovered them thanks to Giacomo when I was 30, when we met. And his first present shortly after we met was a comic book, beautiful one. So Persepolis, they made a movie out of it. It's about growing up in Iran and during the beginning of the dictatorship. So it's a very beautiful book. And then since then, I also rediscovered my own favorites. I discovered, and now we get changed.
And now with our daughter, it's like it's a new discover for like I'm discovering new author. I just discovered Reina Telgemeier.
Super interesting.
Yeah. Reina Telgemeier, like as I discover her through like our daughter.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very it's a it's a great art form, as I said.
Yeah, no, it's great to again I can see the passion on your faces, which is a major ingredient in game design. And on that note, I want to bring in just a quick comment here from Ben Craven of Upsize Fun, who has designed a few games. His one that's being made now is Hydra Soakers, and he's got a lot of ideas floating around. He was on Designer Debut as well, and similar, that just the passion there is what keeps you going sometimes, right? It gets you over those obstacles, it gets you over those speed bumps, and when you're doing something that you really love, it makes it easier to overcome that stuff. So in terms of the game, what was there inspiration in a certain game that you like were you trying to model after something in particular, or was it a combination of different mechanisms? How did that work when you decided to sit down and develop the game?
Well, certainly been influenced by our favorite games, the ones we've been playing the most in the last 3-4 years. And so yeah, I mean, it's not drawing from a single game, obviously, but it's a combination of games. I can tell you that I can look at the side and some of our favorites that we played a lot and inspired, and they had mechanisms that we liked, and somehow we had to bring a version of those mechanisms to our game. And I can tell you about several of Stonemaier games, Viticulture, for instance, which is also, economic management, resource management. Then we have Orleans, that is a game that
we love Orleans.
We love playing. And that's therefore the map that somehow I wanted the map in the game.
Yes.
Because I love that part of the very different mechanics in that game. But
sure.
I just wanted a little map. I wanted a little map in our game as well.
And then we had I remember with Brass, how you write a manual. I know that you went through different iterations, but remember the last time it's okay, I was reading Brass manual and say, okay, this is the way how you write a manual. And I started.
We start the fact that everything.
Yeah.
And then also. Lots of we read and played analyzing the different type of play in the game, Lacerda games, namely the galleries. That is also this sort of we should draw some inspiration, although it's a much harder game, I would say, than our game.
This is those are really I would say
kind of analyze the most, and we
try to understand what was capture our attention and how things were coming together. I know there are different schools. There's designer that focus only on mechanics,
right?
And then they develop the theme.
For us, was the opposite.
I think we after this experience, we wouldn't be able to envision something just starting from mechanics. I think that mechanics and theme needs to go hand by hand, and I think the theme, at least for us, just and this is what we want to try to probably do with Libris Games, finding other designers. Because one thing that we have to say is that when you go into a Kickstarter campaign, just like be aware, it is tough, it's challenging, no matter how big your team is. It's a work per se that, as many other designers that went through this process say, is like it will prepare you to run a publishing company, more than just like you will put aside the game design for quite some time, and that's what essentially happens. So it's like always yeah, it's in
the sense that it's very intense.
Yeah, it's very intense, and the level of knowledge that you have to accumulate and study, and the things that you need to take in account in terms of like the fulfillment and everything. So going back to the what we're saying, the game inspires and the theme, and so I think that now, as we are progressing as Leaders Games, we really see the theme as king in a way, and how it can help you develop design idea, in the sense like when you know something very well, and we know, we research like the industry, like sometimes the answer we're into the economical model that was like
let's say that for us it helped as a first-time designers, it helped a lot being guided by the theme, in the sense that whenever there was a problem in a dilemma in terms of mechanics, we always went back to the real economic model in the publishing industry, or as much as we know of it, and said, what would happen in reality? What is the most realistic? Because there was also, for me at least, while we're designing, the worry that we don't want to create rules that are too ad hoc, they don't make sense in reality, right? I like this kind of games that can be complex, but once you read the manual, you don't have to constantly go back, because it should flow and be intuitive. To make sense, and so that's why I say go back always to the theme, to the in this case to the comic book industry. What makes sense, what does not make sense. It helps us. Having said that, there are some more abstract.
Oh yeah, we love Azul
games. I love it more because I always win that game. So I'm better actually at list-thematic. I am better at list-thematic games. So having said that, we might come with a list-thematic.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because I think I am better at those.
So obviously, with a game that focuses on comic books, art is obviously a huge part of that. How did you find your artist, and was there a lot of back and forth there? Did it kind of hit right away? How did that process work?
Oh, so the artist we were lucky enough to, one of our best board game mates is actually a comic book editor here in Italy. So he knows a lot of artists, and he was one of the first people we told about this idea for the game, and the look we wanted to have. It was set in the 40s, 50s, and the kind of look we wanted for the game. And he gave us a couple of artists, mentioned a couple of artists. We kind of interviewed them. And Laura, we really loved from the beginning. All of the others were very good, but Laura in particular impressed us very much. And fortunately, the process was very easy. There was not a lot of revisions, or she was presenting the cards. We love it. There were sometimes minor adjustments.
Sure. She was, I mean, the way she was just like coming up with constant ideas in terms of the cover of the comic book. She has a deep knowledge of the medium, and she really was able to capture, like, there are jokes you will see that, like, because the comic in the game you have original comics, but you also have rip-off, because it was a practice at that time. And the title, the way she played with the title, I mean, she was absolutely brilliant, and it flows very
with the titles and the
fantastic.
She's brilliant, and
it really flowed. And then we also had like some guest star for the collector's edition. We launched a Kickstarter. We had we were lucky to have some big names that draw like this sort of like expansion within the collector's edition. So we have Elena Casagrande won an Eisner Award. We have that is for people that don't know, it's like the Oscar of the comic books. Is awarded during the Comic-Con in San Diego. We get like Giuseppe Camuncoli, that is like a Spider-Man, amazing Spider-Man artist. We have Riccardo Burchielli, who did like, DMZ. We have like, we have like many, amazing, very talented, super talented artists, super known and less like known, but like they did. I think Lisandro Esteren.
You can see the people.
Francesco
You
Vigil,
can see the covers they created on our Kickstarter page that we revealed this special cover.
Yeah, we were revealing one cover per week,
more or less.
And like and introducing them to our audiences, and it's been
the relationship with the artists has been very nice.
Yeah, now we have also an expansion, like it's called the War expansion. So War at that time was like a big theme, and then we're right now like working on the rules, and then we have like a couple of other new artists that are like very new to the medium, that are like making their take on this genre, and like now we're trying to balance the true like reality, the historical fact with the mechanics of the game. There's going to be a solo mode that is being developed by a really big designer, that is Nestore Mangone. You might have know his game like Darwin's Journey and like Autobahn recently, Newton. So yeah, this is like we pulled together all the friends that we made along the way during the pandemic. And
for the artists, just going back to the beginning to your original question, for all the artists, we are really thankful to this friend of ours who put us.
Alessio. Thank you, Alessio.
Alessio. And then the designer that Giacomo mentioned yesterday that developed the solo mode is one of the persons that Giacomo randomly met online on Tabletop Simulator. On Discord.
On Discord, during this long night of development.
And then became a friend as well, and he then developed the solo mode of our game.
And hopefully we're going to develop more things.
We were very that's one of the good sides of the pandemic, because we met lots of good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there was certainly some silver linings to that whole event for sure. Real quick, I want to do shout out here. Chris from Tabletop Express, congratulating you both on the success of your Kickstarter.
Thank you.
So thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
So you mentioned the expansion. When I look at the title first, whenever there's a title and then another title, I always think about, well, does that mean there's going to be something else? So is there going to be an Age of Comics, the modern era, at some point?
The dream would be to have the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, and the Dark Age. I mean, like we will try. I mean, this is of course the dream. We'll see how this edition will go, and in that case, we will try to really change the. It wouldn't be just like I think we try to work with the expansion within the single era, while like the Silver Age probably will be a different game. So try to work on the mechanics and building up, and probably integrating the feedback that we'll collect in the next few years. But yes, we want to do the plan. The master plan is like we'll see.
Yeah, well, look, there's a lot of opportunities for sure, and it's very exciting. This is a very exciting time with this stuff going on. So I'm very happy for you both, and excited to see what's coming down the pike next for you. What is the board game scene like in Rome? Are there a lot of cafes? Is it a lot of meetups?
There are some meetups. There's a fantastic, very passionate community, as you would expect from Italy.
Yes.
I think like everywhere else, the community is thriving, is growing at the fast pace. It's full of passionate people. Lovely. I mean, we went to the biggest Italian con that is in Modena. It's called Play Modena. Fantastic experience, and that like everything snowballed from there, and we just like we find people really we understood that we went there with 10 boxes of the prototypes, and we never been to a con before. We have like by coincidence like we managed to get this is just like going around and asking people. We find this amazing place of like in conjunction with a magazine, and it was like, look, there was a bit of magic in all this process. And we went there and we saw the affection, the love, the excitement that players had, and then
when they just saw the box, actually,
yeah, the box.
To play, they wanted to buy the prototype.
Yeah, that was like, okay,
it
we
was
have
the first time.
Yeah.
This was in May this year, so it's quite recent. It was the first time that we thought, oh, okay, this can work, because the reception was so warm, so nice, and I thought, wow, I think we can succeed. We can fund on Kickstarter maybe. If the rest of the world reacts like this, I think we can make this happen.
And the community is, I'd say, is like, community is great. It's like that
very helpful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's been fantastic. Even throughout the Kickstarter, to say, like, we read we try to be as much present as we could, and it's like it's been but really we felt the engagement and the passion and the
that's true in Italy, but also from other people
from all over the world, really from all over the world.
Since we started seriously thinking about creating a game, when interacting on Facebook and Instagram, and it's been so nice, so supportive. Just to tell you that the first emails I got as soon as the Kickstarter campaign closed, the first emails were not from family or our friends, it was from people that are in our communities. I get a Dutch guy friend now emailing us, like, another guy from Britain emailing us, that we met on Discord, we met on Instagram, and it's been so heartwarming that our community that were there with us, rooting for us. It's been amazing. Giving us suggestions also, and saying what they liked or didn't like. They were also very, very constructive feedback they gave. But I found very moving, actually, that they were following us, the closure of the campaign, to see if we succeed or not. And so that was
fantastic. That's a beautiful thing. It really is.
That's beautiful.
Any plans to visit any cons in the States?
Oh, we'd love to. We absolutely love to. We need to see how, right now we're dealing with the bureaucracy of the ending of a campaign and the setting up of, like, we have still a lot to do, and it's like, we want to really, right now our focus is to the manufacturing. We want to bring the best possible project to our backers. That's our main goal. And we'll see if we'd love to. We'll see what would happen in the next few months. But
that's the plan. Yeah, that's the plan to. Particularly after we were in Modena here, this big convention in Italy. We started, we need to do all the conventions we can.
Exactly.
It's exhausting, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, look, I'm going to let you go in a couple of minutes, but everyone who is a guest on Designer Debut does go through a little bit of a trivia game before we sign off. So this is the first time I've had two people on at once, so it's going to be a bit of a head-to-head competition here. All right. Now, this is comic book themed. You're going to get 5 questions each, and then we'll see who comes up with the most.
This is not an excuse. Like, the phone is really, like, the camera is reaching the end. So now I have 2%.
Oh boy.
We might have to change, like, our just like pop the thing. You might be have to connect to the computer. But if you can, you can, like, the first, like, please go on. It's like
I already know that he's going to win because
all right, well, let's see. We'll try to get through it fast. So basically, I'm going to give you someone's real name, and you're going to tell me who they are in the comic book world. That's it.
Okay.
I'll start with a couple easy ones, and then maybe they'll get a little trickier. So, Sonia, we'll start with you. James Buchanan Barnes. Who is that?
I don't know. So I'm so sorry. I am a disaster.
The last name is pretty much a hint.
James Buchanan Barnes. This is like a tough one for me as well.
You can steal, Giacomo. You can steal if you want.
James Buchanan Barnes. I have to pass on this. I feel ashamed, but
I'm going to go to the second one, and the second one might give you a little hint about what the first one was. All right, so the second one is Steve Rogers.
Okay, yeah, I know this. Of course, is like Captain America.
Right. So now going back to James Buchanan Barnes, any ideas who that might be?
Oh my gosh, James Buchanan Barnes. Oh my gosh.
You're embarrassing him.
I'm like,
it's okay. All right, that's Bucky Barnes. That's Cap's.
Oh yeah, of course,
sidekick.
it's Bucky. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Next up, Namor McKenzie.
Namor McKenzie. What would you like? Honestly, it's like I'm really ashamed.
Well, that was not my goal.
I know. I mean, I guess it was like Namor McKenzie. I thought it was like something like, oh, it was Peter Parker. I was like, no, Namor McKenzie.
Well, I tried to go as old school as I could with some original people here.
Oh my gosh, this is like a trap. Like a Namor.
Forget about the McKenzie part. Namor is the only thing you need to know.
Namor, I know one Namor. I know. I just like I know one Namor. It's like the Submariner. I don't know anyone.
That's him.
Oh,
you got it.
It was like surname was McKenzie.
That's according to the research that I did. Yes.
I know. I only know him as Namor, and so it's like, yeah, okay.
It was news to me as well.
Okay, this is very news to me. So yeah, okay.
All right. Next one is Clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant is oh my gosh, like you really dig into like I know Clairvoyant. Man, it's like I think my brain is freezing. I just
I think their battery ran out. That's okay. I didn't mean to put them on the spot about the comic book names, but I hope you guys enjoyed talking to those wonderful humans and their very cool board game Age of Comics, the Golden Years. Kickstarter is finished, but there'll be some late pledges available, and when that does get up and running, I'll try to put that link into the show notes there. I'm going to thank them for joining us, and I'll give them a minute-ish to see if they grab back on. But if not, I do want to put up here just another couple of photos here. Yeah, so here's the major part where you're putting your workers out, and then I think they're back.
And saved by the bell. You really went into like you dig deep into like the timely comics origin.
Yeah, I made it too hard.
Yeah, you made it very, very, very hard. It doesn't mean like I don't know the characters, but I don't like. Yeah, I must admit some of the alter ego.
So apparently, Clairvoyant was the first Black Widow.
It was the first Natasha Romanoff. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know either.
The next one I did know, but I only learned it recently, and that's Jim Hammond.
Oh, Jim Hammond.
I don't know, man. This is like Jim Hammond. Oh my gosh.
I need to go through the famous characters.
No, Sonia, you're like we never get it. Like so, you know something, but that
he was the first Human Torch.
Human Torch. Of course.
Now, the rest of these, like, honestly, I have never heard of these names, and I don't think I've ever heard of their comic book character either. One is Miss America. Have you heard of Miss America? Not the pageant queen. Comic book?
You didn't even know.
No idea who that is. Madeline Frank is Miss America.
Miss American.
Yeah, I don't know that one. Next up, we got the Blazing Skull. Which
the Blazing Skull.
Like it was the first Ghost Rider, kind of, but it's not Ghost Rider.
You come up with this.
Blazing Skull, Mark Anthony Todd. No idea.
No idea. Right. This is really, really
This
tough.
is the hardest one I've made. It's the hardest one I've made. That's it. We'll cut it.
Wow, it's like zero, like 0 out of 5. It just like have to go back and study.
That's okay. You have a lot of stuff going on. Well, listen, folks, I want to really, really, really thank you for joining
like in the poster behind me.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Look at that. We're looking forward to seeing the game out in the wild when it comes to that. And when you do get the late pledges up and going, send me over a link and I can put it into the description of this video so folks can access that as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You guys have anything else you want to add before we sign off? I know it's getting late over there in Italy.
Just like thank you. No, thank you so much. We don't like
so much.
It's like
we'll
it's been great.
Sorry for our performance.
Yeah, sorry for Sorry for my
live. That's live, baby. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. The rest of you, we will see you on the next one, and have a good evening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.